Hey everyone, welcome to the Gilbert.K Show. From the American Film Institute to award-winning director, she's a storytelling powerhouse. Co-producer of SAF 3, director of The Disembodied, and the mind behind The Obscured and Mistletoe Connection. With roots in Mexico and Italy, she fuses culture and emotion into every frame. Her films stream on Amazon, Tubi, and light up the Up TV network. Get ready for the unstoppable force of indie cinema. Dianna Ippolito.
Hey Diana, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being on show. Before we dive in,
Mhm.
let's take a moment to watch a clip. What are we gonna see right now?
I just recently completed a short film called The Dead Woman, and we can watch that clip.
Excellent.
Central says it's a woman.
Rose Wilkins.
Any cameras?
No.
Who called it in?
She did, the dead woman.
Okay. Could you start telling me a little bit about yourself and what sparked your interest in writing and directing?
Well, that's a kind of an interesting story. I, for many years, was a fashion photographer, and I moved to Los Angeles to work as a photographer. I did it for about 10 years, and then a friend of mine had said to me, I'm going to take this screenwriting class. It's fairly cheap. You want to do it with me after work in the evenings? And I said, sure, not really knowing what it was about, what it was like to be a screenwriter. And after I took the class, which was about 6 weeks, I was hooked. And that was the beginning of my journey into switching careers and becoming a filmmaker, a writer, and director and producer.
Excellent. Wow. And what was one of your most memorable experience when starting out?
I remember very vividly the first time I was on set. It was like going to Oz. You know, I had never been on a set. I didn't know the mechanics of it, how many people were involved, what it was like, the terms that that were flying about. You know, like you say, flying in when you're going to retouch someone's makeup, and you always want to say crossing when you're crossing the camera. And I learned a lot, and I thought it was like I was home. You know what I mean? The first time I was on set,
Mm,
that was memorable to me. So I would say the first time I was on set.
that's great. And how do you describe yourself in 3 words?
Oh, I would say resourceful because you have to be in this business because things
Yeah.
always go wrong. Determined because I'm a Scorpio, so I'm always determined to get things done. And I would say creative. I'm definitely a creative person, eating, drinking, sleeping, everything. I am just fully a creative person.
What's one fact about you that most people might not know?
I would say since people don't know my process as a writer, I use music to help inspire me. So that's something people don't know. I put the music on in the background and I write. I don't think I can write without it. It just sort of soothes me and also helps inspire me. So I think some of my best work comes through listening to music, and it helps my process.
Do you have a methodology to write? Do you have like a formula? Is there there's lots of books out there. Do you follow a certain method, like beginning, middle, and end, or um,
I
the,
do.
yeah,
I've read a lot of those books, and I found one called Save the Cat that a lot of screenwriters
yeah,
work from. Everyone knows it.
yeah.
I was lucky enough to actually be friends with the person who wrote it, who helped inspire me. And while I use a lot of his structure when I write, I also find that I have to sort of go my own way and find my way,
Mhm.
and just use that as a barometer and as a way to help me. But I don't fully adhere to the rules because sometimes you have to break the rules. And I do find though that you have to be really good at structure to be a good screenwriter, and so I do use those tools.
Got it. Okay. And what do you think about the art house films?
Oh.
Um,
Well, to me, the art house films are, to me, the films. You know,
yeah.
just like from watching the Oscars recently, the films that won were the independent films, and I was glad for that because it certainly goes to show you that you don't need $1 million to make a film. I think they said Honora was 6 million. And then it really it's about the passion and it's about the storytelling, and that's key. It's not about Marvel movies, and it's not about, for us as filmmakers, it's not. I mean, I know it is for the popcorn movies that people love to see in the summers, but for us, the heart of what we love and do is storytelling and good stories, and focusing on marginalized people and telling the stories that nobody has told us before. So I find it to be the most important thing.
That's great. And what hobbies do you have? What do you do for fun other than writing and directing?
I don't. No, just kidding. I love to drive up the coast. I'm in California, and I love getting in the car and just going to beach towns up along the coast, along Highway 1. And I like to discover little shops and thrift stores, and I'm a big thrift store fiend. So I buy things I don't need constantly, but it makes me happy. And
Yeah,
and collecting things, I would say, is my hobby.
that's
Nostalgic
great.
things.
Okay, so my next segment is a small game we play on the show. It's called This or That, and the theme is writing, directing. And in this fun game, I'll give you two options, and you have to pick the one you like the most or the one that fits you better. There are
Okay.
no wrong answers, and you don't need to explain your choice unless you want to. It's all about quick, fun decisions for the audience to get to know you better.
Okay.
Um, are you ready, Diana?
I'm ready.
Okay. Indie film or blockbuster?
Indie film,
Long take or multiple quick cuts?
multiple quick cuts,
Practical effects or CGI effects?
practical,
It's scripted precision or improvised magic?
both,
Studio control or creative freedom?
creative freedom,
Silent storytelling or dialogue driven scenes?
I think silence can sometimes tell you more.
Handheld realism or smooth cinematic shots?
Smooth cinematic shots.
Dark, moody lighting or bright, colorful visuals?
Dark and moody.
Big name actors or rising talent?
Both. Can't choose.
Slow burn drama or fast paced action?
I love them both.
Excellent. So we're gonna watch another clip. What are we gonna watch, Diana?
I did a series called Diamond Heist, and what we're going to see is a clip from the first 5-minute short of the series. It's a comedy.
Okay, let's watch it. Great. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey or inspiration behind your work project or any project?
Sure. I grew up watching films of the 70s. So, speaking about independent films, I feel like that really kind of informed who I became as a writer and a director, the stories that I want to tell. So, my journey has come from the movies that I saw as a child. Close Encounters, Jaws, All the President's Men, the gritty Conversation, the movies like Conversation. And I think that that's the movies that I still love today. And I love them for a specific reason, because they're usually about people that you don't think are going to achieve their goal. People that they're about people that are going for something and you really don't think that they're going to succeed. And I love to tell stories about underdogs and about people that you just wouldn't bet on. And I love that in my own work too, because that's what I focus on, and that's what I makes me feel good to tell those marginalized stories.
That's great. And how did your experiences shape your approach to writing and directing?
I think that my biggest inspiration in my writing is coming from being a photographer, because I learned how to tell stories through still images, through lighting, through knowing when that right moment was to press the shutter and take the picture, and sort of instilling in myself the ability to wait, to understand when it is the right moment. And I find that that infuses my work as a writer too. I come to it being a seer visually, and so I bring that. Cinematography really informs how I write a scene, how I start the scene. I'll start by usually describing the light or something in the room, not the action. And I also enjoy speaking about movies that either are fast action or are slow burns. I prefer the slow burn in my own writing in dramas. I do write
Mhm.
comedy, but I also write a lot of biopics and drama. And I think having watched all those films from the 70s where they gave you enough time to
Yeah.
understand character, and to really develop it, that has informed how I write. So I think that all of my experiences growing up watching films and being a photographer informs the way I approach my own work.
Yeah. Are you type of director who only directs their own material, or you option other scripts, or what's your take on that?
I've actually had people option my work and make my films, which I have no problem with. And I've actually directed two other people's work, which I have no problem with. It just turns out that when I'm writing and directing, it's just so much easier to write something that I know that I can
Mhm.
shoot in a location that I can get, and I don't have to look around for other material because I can sit down in an afternoon and write it. So I love both. I don't mind selling my
Yeah.
work and having someone else do it, but I also enjoy doing my own when I have the.
Are you type of director who is hands-on? I mean, like with the crew and
Yeah,
with the actors, with both, right?
yeah, absolutely. I think it starts at the top, so you have to command a set and treat people the way you want to be treated, and that's knowing everybody, who's there to help you make your vision. So it's the lowest person on the totem pole is invited to my group to talk about the film before we begin, and it's always to me a very low key set, very friendly, not a lot of stress, because I I know how hard it is to make a film, and I really
Mhm.
appreciate the people who come as the crew to help me do it.
Yeah. How early do you engage the sound designer or the editor?
Immediately. I
Immediately.
will I will write the script, I'll talk to the DP, and then I will speak to my I just did that a couple of weeks ago. I went to speak to my editor and sat
Mhm.
down and told him what I was doing. I said, let's come up with a really interesting way to edit this film. Let's look at some clips from other films that I like, and we just to get on the same page so that I know that by the time I'm done shooting, they're
Mhm.
already lined up and ready to go, and we're all on the same page. It makes things a lot smoother.
Yeah. Are you type of director who storyboard their shots, or
I do. I'm a kind of a loose storyboarder. I will definitely come to the set with that, but then sometimes there'll be changes, or the scene isn't working where I thought we were going to shoot it, or I had envisioned it sitting down, but then it felt too static, and we stand up and we go outside. So
you know?
it's sort of being able to adapt to whatever's happening on the day, especially as an
Mhm.
indie filmmaker.
Yeah. Um, okay, great. And what interests you in a project? If it's not your project, if it's the one that you didn't write, and if there's a producer who has a script, what interests you the most? Is it the cast, the material, like the script, the story,
I
or
think it
both?
always
Or
it starts with the story. I think for me, if it's something that I just like anybody, like if any director is going to direct something, it's got to start with what speaks to you and your experiences. Something that you can relate to, or something, or or if it's an action thriller, something that where you think, oh wow, this is great pacing and the writing is really stylized. I really enjoy that. So it has to be something that, even if it's not something that you can bring with your experience, it's something that you admire. So I
yeah,
would say that.
great. Um, So what was one unexpected challenge you faced when getting started?
That's easy. It still happens. It's actually it's meeting people. I've been to the AFM a few times, and I go to mixers and I meet and I try and do everything you're supposed to do to promote yourself. And I meet a lot of people who call themselves producers, and they kind of string you along, and they make themselves seem like they have more going on than they really do. And then you waste a lot of time with those sort of fake. I like to call them fakers because
Yeah.
there's plenty of them out there. And then it's just sort of figuring out, being able to see that BS right away and just saying, I can tell by your IMDb that you don't have anything going on, or you talk a big talk, but actually you don't have any money, things like that.
Yeah.
It's just that was challenging for me because I didn't understand that going in. When someone said to me, "Oh, that what a great script! I'd love to produce this," I would believe them. And
Yeah.
that's not always true. They're just talking, and you're like, so you go, oh, I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket. And then it turns out they're like, yeah, I don't really have any money. Can you find the money? Oh, okay. So I just spent 3 months talking to you for nothing. Stuff like that, that's happens even to this day, but it's just learning to recognize those people.
Yeah. How do you see writing and directing evolving in the next few years?
Well, luckily, because of television, there's more opportunities, even for women, to direct on television. It's a little harder as far as feature films, but because of the independent cinema, there's still a way. If you can find the
Mhm.
money, you can still find distribution. If you can get one person to star in your film, even if they're an older star, or their star was once big and now they're not so much, but their name recognizable, you can still find distribution. So there's still opportunities. So I say, even though things are evolving rapidly with all the things happening in our industry, there's still the chance for you to make your dream come true. So don't give up.
Yeah, great. Um, and what's one crucial piece of advice would you give someone who's interested in writing and directing? They're just starting out.
I would say do what I did, because it helped me tremendously, was to really commit to learning my craft. When I first started out, I didn't know what I was doing. I read a lot of books. I found out what worked for me as far as screenwriting and structure. I watched a lot of movies. I spent a lot of time. I still do this. I will watch a movie and I will write every single thing down that happens and when it happens, and I'll time it and I'll say, this is why the pacing of this movie is so great. So it's my recommendation is to learn your craft, to continue to learn your craft, study it. I study all the Oscar nominated scripts. I want to see what made them Oscar worthy. I'm constantly learning, and I think it's just putting in the work and knowing that you're never going to stop learning. It's a lifelong thing, if you're as passionate about it as I am.
Mhm, mhm. Great advice, actually. Um, can you share a moment when you faced a significant obstacle and how you overcame it?
Sure. I remember one time I was a really newbie director, hadn't quite found my legs yet. Still didn't know how to command a set and have people sort of respecting me. And I got challenged by one of the producers on the set, and I had to then figure out, okay, I don't want to make waves. I want to continue making this film, but I also need to be the one in charge. She was trying to sort of take over my set as a producer, which she don't do. And I eventually had to get her kicked off my set, and that was a big deal. It was emotional, and it was right in the middle of shooting, and it was like I didn't know what that was going to mean, but it was the best decision because I took my power back and I finished the movie and it won awards and I didn't need her. And, so I would say, yeah, it was getting through that
It's
process, and knowing after that, never again to even give one person a little inch because they'll take a mile. So stand up for yourself,
mm,
and always try and keep your power.
yeah. And what tips do you have for to be on set? Like what do you have any tips for newbies, new directors?
Yeah, come prepared, come over prepared. Be open to, as an independent director, things always happen. So there's always going to be, you might get rained out, or there might be airplanes flying overhead that you didn't know were going to be there that on the day that you're shooting or whatever. So just Be overprepared, be willing to change your plans. And the biggest thing I would say is collaborate. Don't be the one that's just like it's my way or the highway, because film is a collaborative medium. Even when you're writing, it is, because someone else is going to buy your script and ask you for changes, and you have to work with them, right? So I would say keep your ego out the door, and be willing to collaborate, and being open to suggestions, and knowing when to politely take them or use them, and not be afraid to use them, no matter who it comes from.
How do they say that not they say filmmaking is collaboration, but at some point you want to make sure your vision is there. Like when you watch a Tarantino film or Scorsese, you will know right away this is Scorsese. They have their signature on. How do you make sure your vision is there, and at the same time you don't want to upset people, because it's a collaborative work, right? So everybody's collaborating, but at the same time, you want to make sure your vision is there. How do you balance all this out?
I think, like in terms, like if an actor is doing something that you don't envision how the scene should go, is that what you mean?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Because as a director and a writer, I can control, if it's my film, I control how it's edited, the style of it. So
Yeah.
in terms of that, I can keep my vision. But if it's, for example, if you're shooting a scene and the actors are sort of handling the material in a way that wasn't what you wanted, that's a fine balance, So in order to be collaborative, you do a take the way they want to do it. And then you say, that's great. Now let's do it my way, and then you use the take that you like. And you do the one that you wanted anyway.
Yeah. Great. That's a good tip.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. What's one common misconception about writing, directing?
From the writing standpoint, that
Yeah.
writers are the lowest person on the totem pole. Like when in a project, it's the person with the least amount of, it's always the director's medium, which it is, but you have to remember it starts with the writer. So I never really understand why the writer is always sort of under that, because it's your vision. It starts with you. So I feel like the writer should be at the top, because the director's changing what you're writing and interpreting it, but it's still your material. So I think that's a misconception that the director is always the highest person, and to me, it's the other way around.
Yeah. I forgot the name of the film. There was a film about filmmaking where a director bought a script and they changed the whole they changed the whole script, and they just kept the title. And then they kept avoiding the writer to come on set, and the writer wanted to come on set, and the writer at the end found out that the whole story changed. It's just they kept the title.
That's
It's a
horrible.
very funny, yeah, and it's horrible, but it's a very funny movie. I forgot the name of it. Um,
Yeah, I would be depressed. I would be very depressed if that happened to me. And you know what? It happens all the time. People get
yeah, for sure.
rewritten. You get rewritten, or they overwrite you 50%, and then your name isn't even on the script that you sold. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just devastating. But it's
I
par
know,
for the
I
course,
know.
unfortunately.
How do you stay motivated and inspired, especially during challenging times?
I think you have to put blinders on. You can't let the noise derail you, especially right now, especially in the United States, because of all the political stuff going on. I have to not watch the news. I have to just, like, okay, today I'm going to write. I'm going to get 5 pages written. I am going to make my goal. I have my script written in a month. I am going to go into pre-production, and I'm going to make this happen. You just have to stay on course and stay motivated yourself. You have to push yourself, and that's the only way, because nobody else is going to do it for you. So it's just
That's true.
putting your blinders on and just put your head down and do the work.
Okay, we're coming to the end. Let's watch a final clip, and what we're gonna see, Diana.
This is a holiday film that I sold and co-wrote during the pandemic. It's called Mistletoe Connection, and you can currently see it on Up TV Network.
Excellent.
It's the most uplifting time of the year.
I like your elf costume.
What costume?
You're the elf. I've been looking for you.
I saw.
They work for Klein Enterprises.
The one telling me I need to leave my shop?
Don't let his job define who he is.
When you met him on that bus, didn't you feel something?
Christmas is the time.
Okay, is there one last thought or piece of advice you'd like to share with our audience?
About filmmaking, I would say yes. One thing is to find whatever it is that makes you happiest when you're writing. I mean, I'm talking particularly to screenwriting. To understand that you can write your passion project, but to also be aware, because I wasn't, it took me a couple of years to understand this. So for anybody listening, hopefully this helps you. You want to write what moves you and what you're passionate about, but you also want to keep in mind that Hollywood is still a business and you still want to be able to sell your film. So I would say to still write your passion project, but to keep in mind the elements that Hollywood is still looking for when it comes to buying that and making it. So to keep that in mind and still pursue your niche films and your passion projects, but just to understand, what it is that Hollywood wants and why someone would be attracted to it and how to sell it, because those are important factors when you show your work to people.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah, it's hard to balance between, because you're right, it's a business at the end, right? The investor, they want to make back their money,
Right.
and
You can't just forget
yeah,
about it and say, oh, it's my film and people will see it. You have to understand that those elements
yeah,
have to be there. If you need a name actor, then you're going to have to find one. If you need to have something universal that's a theme in your film, you're going to have to put it in there, because
yeah,
that's what will attract buyers and other producers to want to do your work.
that's true. Yeah. Um, are there so how can our audience connect with you or learn more about your work?
You can see some of my work on my Vimeo page. I have a lot of my short films and I think some trailers on there right now. You can see Mistletoe Connection, my holiday film, which is currently airing on the Up TV network, which you can get through Amazon Prime. And I shot a film during the pandemic called The Obscured, and that is also on Amazon Prime.
Excellent. Are there any upcoming projects or collaborations you're excited about?
There is. Actually, I am right now in pre-production, about to shoot a short film, proof of concept, for a film called Mafia Daddies, and it's a comedy about two older retired mafiosos who get called in to do one last job. So it's a very funny East Coast type humor comedy that I'm just about to get started on.
Excellent. And who would you like to thank or acknowledge for supporting you on your journey?
Anybody who ever worked on my film. Any casting crew that came along, because when you're making these little short films or indie films, nobody gets paid anything, or gas money. Sometimes it's just credit and food, or or the bare minimum SAG money. So I would say a thank you to the people who have worked on my films throughout the years, and especially to my longtime collaborator, Colton Curry, who's my DP, and always up for the challenge. Always, I call him with any idea I have, and I say, I want to shoot. And he said, okay, let's go. So just having a guy, a person in your life that is willing to support you like that over the years, I would like to thank.
Excellent. Thank you. So we're nearing the end of the show. That's all, folks. Dianna Ippolito, everyone. Thank you, Dianna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.